Hello guys, and welcome to my comparison of the AirPods Pro and the Sony WF-1000Xm3. So first thing up, the price. The Sonys, you can find them for $230 US, of course, MSRP. But if you look around, you can probably pick them up for about $200 brand new because they've been out for a little while. The AirPods Pro literally just came out today at the time of this review. And these are pretty much going to be for $250 currently. You probably, if you're not picking them up from any retailers, if you try to buy these secondhand, there's a high chance for the following weeks from now these are going to be sold for higher than $250. But the MSRP of the AirPods Pro is $250 at the time of this video review. Now design, let's start off with the Sonys here. The case is a soft touch plastic with a kind of copper top, reminds of a Duracell battery. As you can see here, this is the LED, which is an indicator for the charge for the earpieces as well as the case itself. On the top, you can see the Sony logo, and on the bottom here, you have your USB-C input. When you flip open the case, earpieces are very nicely nestled in here. It's overall very sleek package. I really do like the way this overall design looks on the Sonys. Moving on to the AirPods, the case is very familiar. Kind of looks like the standard AirPods case, but just in a landscape view. It is a white hard shell plastic with a metal hinge here. You have your pairing button, which you can press and hold to send the earpieces into a pairing mode to connect to another device. And on the bottom here, you have your lightning connection. Then you have your LED light, which signifies if the case is charging, as well as the charging initiation on the earpieces themselves. So if you flip the lid over here, you can see the earpieces are nestled nicely. Not as sleek, not as form-fitting as the Sonys, but hey, it still looks pretty nice. And then you have the the lid up here. So as you can see, case sizes, the Sonys are definitely a lot bigger. So if pocketability is a big thing to you, the AirPods are definitely a more pocketable design. So build quality wise, they're both well built. The cases definitely have a good heft to them. They don't feel like they will easily break if you were to drop them on the ground. It depends how high up the drop is, but a typical 5-foot drop should easily suffice, and these cases will survive that. Let's get to the earpieces themselves. So let's take the Sonys out. Now the earpiece for the Sonys also feels pretty durable. I don't feel any creaking sounds when I squeeze on the earpieces. It's a little bit more weighty than the AirPods Pro, but overall the build quality on the Sonys is very good. Highly recommended in terms of the build quality. Let's get over to the AirPods Pro so I can show you guys how that is built. So the AirPods Pro, one is a little bit more difficult to get out because of the slippery piece here. But once you get them out, it kind of mimics the case in terms of its overall design language. But still very sturdy. I don't feel any creaking when I kind of, give it a light tug and stuff of that nature. So also a well-built product here from Apple. So let's get over to the comfort. Now, comfort-wise, both of these are excellent. Don't have any issues with irritation in my ear canals or any kind of, pain from it being jammed into my ears. The Sonys does go in a little bit deeper, as you can see, as opposed to the AirPods. But the comfort of the Sonys is very good. I did choose the foam tips that come with the Sonys, so the tips are a little bit more pliable and easier on the ears, and also helps a bit with grip, so it stays in the ear canals a little bit better. However, the fit on the Sonys is not the most stable, so they do tend to fall out of my ears a lot easier than other IEMs that I have, whereas the AirPods, they kind of lock in there. They're very stable and they really don't budge. But comfort-wise, both of these are excellent. I have no issues. Control layout, the Sonys have a touch sensitive portion here, which is this little circular, kind of like a glossy plastic finish. So on the right earpiece, that is responsible for your playback media controls as well as your on-call controls. Tapping it once will play pause, tapping it twice forwards the track, tapping it 3 times goes back a track, as well as tapping once will pick up the call. If you tap once again while you're on the call, it'll hang it up. And I believe if you tap and hold it while your call is coming in, it'll reject the call. The left earpiece is responsible for your active noise canceling control. So if you tap it, it'll basically cycle between active noise canceling, ambient aware mode, as well as just turning off the ambient aware controls altogether. And if you press and hold the left earpiece on the touch sensitive portion, it'll put the Sonys into a conversation mode where it'll pipe in all of the audio so you can quickly hear what's going on around you as long as you have your fingers still on the touch sensor. So the AirPods, in comparison, the controls are shared. So each earpiece has the same controls, but the way the controls are initiated is a bit different. AirPods has this new kind of like force touch feature here. Not sure if you guys can see the little indent right there, but basically when you squeeze it, it'll cause the AirPods to initiate a command. So by basically squeezing it once, it'll basically play and pause. Does this car alarm really have to go on while I'm doing this review? All right, it went away. Sorry, guys. So if you squeeze it once, it'll basically play and pause your music. If you squeeze it in quick succession twice, it'll skip forward. If you squeeze it in quick succession 3 times like this, it'll skip backwards a track. If a call is coming in and you squeeze it one in quick succession, it'll pick it up. You squeeze it once again with the call, it'll hang up. I guess if you squeeze and hold it, I'm not too sure if a call is coming in, it'll reject it. But I know if you squeeze and hold it when a call is not coming in, it'll switch between ambient aware mode or noise canceling. So the controls on both of these are missing volume-based controls, so you can't control the volume on either earpiece. But with the AirPods, it does benefit from the always-on Siri, so you can just basically summon Siri hands-free and just tell Siri to adjust your volume. Whereas with the Sonys, I believe you can summon Siri from the right earpiece by pressing and holding the touch-sensitive panel, or you could just go to your device and then control the volume from there. Battery life, both of these are actually pretty good. The Sony's definitely does take the edge here. Now the Sony's is rated up to 6 hours on a single charge with active noise canceling enabled, and up to 24 hours with the case, of course, with active noise canceling enabled. If you turn off active noise canceling with the Sonys, you will get up to 32 hours. And that's amazing, actually. So with the AirPods, it's rated up to 4.5 hours per use with active noise canceling, and up to 5 hours with active noise canceling turned off. And Apple rates this overall battery with the case a little bit over 24 hours. So the Sony's does definitely take the edge here in terms of the battery life. So Bluetooth, codecs, and the Bluetooth version. So both of these support Bluetooth 5.0, which is the latest Bluetooth standard. As opposed to the codecs, the Sonys support SBC as well as AAC, and the AirPods support AAC as well as SBC. So they're pretty much neck and neck in terms of codec support. But with the AirPods, the AAC support is a bit better when the AirPods are connected to an Apple device because of the H1 chip. So it essentially lowers the latency between the audio and the visual on the screen. And it also has a bit of a better connection to that Apple device as opposed to a non-Apple device. Active noise cancellation performance, since these both are actually active noise canceling earphones. So you might be thinking, what is really the point of an active noise canceling earphone? Because essentially when you plug these things into your ears, they effectively naturally kind of suppress the sound that's going on around you. But the thing with any kind of passive isolation, whether it be in over-the-ear headphones or it could be in the ear monitors or earphones such as these. They do a great job of passively blocking out the frequencies around you, but the thing with active noise canceling that is very beneficial is the fact that it can eliminate the lower frequencies, such as the noise that you get from engines, road noise, and just the hum of things going on around you. Passive isolation cannot really do a good job with that. Passive isolation does a better job with mid-range to treble frequencies. So active noise cancellation, even in an earphone type design, is still beneficial. And I do notice it when I'm using these things outside while I'm commuting. The active noise canceling on both of these is quite effective. If I could rate the two, Apple really came swinging here with the AirPods Pro. I did not expect the active noise cancellation to be as good as it is. When I picked up the AirPods Pro, I was in a mall. So the mall was actually quite, busy, pretty loud. People were talking, things are going on. And I took these out of the packaging. I connected it to my iPhone, and I put them in my ears, and it literally felt like I was going deaf in real time. That's how effective the noise canceling was. It literally just silenced almost everything. Now, the Sony's has a great active noise canceling, but I would give the edge to the AirPods Pro because I feel like the AirPods blocks out more lower frequency sounds as opposed to the Sony's, which let in a little bit more lower frequency sounds, but the Sony's are still very effective. Now, the actual quality of the active noise canceling, I would also give it to the AirPods. The Sony has a very, very slight hiss to its active noise canceling. This is not present in the over-ear WH-1000Xm3, but with the WF, which is this truly wireless, it's a very slight hiss, very, very slight hiss when the active noise canceling is enabled on the Sony's, whereas with the AirPods, it's a very clean and quiet noise suppression when the active noise cancellation is engaged. Moving over to the ambient aware mode, the AirPods also takes that. It literally sounds like you took the AirPods out of your ears when you activate the ambient aware mode on the AirPods. That's how natural and realistic it sounds. Whereas with the Sony's, you definitely can hear what's going on around you, but you can definitely hear that the sound is basically digital. It doesn't sound as open and as clear as if you had taken the earpieces out of your ears. Whereas with the AirPods, it literally sounds like the earpieces have been taken out of your ears, and that's how natural it sounds. So the closest thing to it, or pretty much the brother to this, would be the Bose noise canceling 700 headphones in terms of how natural the ambient aware sounds. This is like the truly wireless version of that Bose implementation. Now, the Sony's is more customizable because you can go into the app and you can basically specify how much noise you want to let in, as well as how much noise canceling you want to suppress. So it's a little bit better in windy situations, but overall, I would take the noise canceling of the AirPods, even if the AirPods is definitely nowhere near as customizable in terms of the active noise canceling as the Sony's. Now, the call quality. Once again, the AirPods are better in terms of call quality. It's kind of like a no contest here. The Sony's can be used in a quiet to maybe a moderate environment. I would probably stick more to quiet, but in moderate to louder environments, the Sony's, I've definitely had a lot of people tell me, I can't hear you, can you speak up? There's a lot of things going on in the background, and I would just have to take the earpieces out and just use my phone. Whereas with the AirPods, these things are reliable in moderate to noisy situations. If it's noisy, I just have to speak up a bit louder. People will hear me. In moderate to quiet, I can speak at a normal tone with the AirPods and people will hear me just fine. With the Sony's, in loud environments, forget about it. It's not gonna work. In moderate, it's kind of like a hit or miss. And in quiet environments, of course, pretty much any Bluetooth earpiece will be just fine because there's no noise that's competing with your voice. So call quality definitely goes to the AirPods. Now, the sound quality. Now, both of these sound pretty good. The Sonys are a bit more warmer. The bass punches a bit more, and there's a bit of a kind of like a slight subdue in the upper mid-range, lower treble region. The Sony's has a well-extended treble. The treble is quite spacious, very nicely refined, and gives a nice sense of depth and separation to the music when you're listening to complex passages. Mid-range on the Sony is well articulated. The tonal balance is pretty good. It's actually a really natural sound in mid-range. But, big but here. So with the Sonys, they have this tendency to distort when the active noise canceling is enabled at volumes that I would say is more on the side of being immersive to my listening experience. So it happens more when there's a lot of treble energy. You can kind of hear the sound of the treble. It sounds like paper, like you're kind of scraping your nails on paper is how the treble sounds. As to it being a clean, crisp note, it kind of sounds like it's a raspy note. So when I turn the active noise cancellation off on the Sonys, that doesn't happen anymore. The treble notes sound clean and crisp. I've tested maybe 4 of these Sonys, and it happens on all 4 earpieces, so it's not an isolated issue. The Sonys just have a tendency to distort in the treble with tracks, and that's not a good thing. I mean, it kind of sucks. I do know that the active noise canceling is the reason why it's doing that, but the AirPods do not suffer from that. So with the AirPods, I can crank this to the max volume, and boy, the max volume on this is quite painful. I couldn't listen to that for more than 2 minutes, but at max volume, there is no distortion whatsoever in any frequency with active noise cancellation turned on. So kudos to Apple for being able to implement a more quality active noise canceling that doesn't really destroy parts of the music. And in terms of the sound, the AirPods sound quite balanced, actually. It doesn't have that major bass roll off anymore like the standard AirPods do. I would probably say it's thanks to the better seal as well as the active noise canceling, but there's definitely a good amount of bass here. It's not overbearing bass. It's a balanced, clean, tight, very detailed bass presentation. Reaches very low. I would say there is a bit of a peak in the upper mid-range, lower treble, kind of like a presence boost. It does bring forth a lot of clarity to the music, but in very occasion, if the track is mastered brightly, this will kind of make the track a little bit too bright. But this is for tracks that haven't been mastered well. But if it's into a track that's mastered and produced well, these are going to sound excellent. I'm just going to go out there and say these sound very clear, very detailed, very balanced. Mid-range tonality is spot on. It's a very articulated mid-range, good soundstage and depth. You hear all the nuances that really help build the foundation of the music, and the separation and the articulation in the notes that help pan the XYZ axis in the soundstage. It's really excellently well done on these AirPods. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but Apple really, they came back, and they came back swinging, and I have to give credit when credit is due. These sound excellent. Treble is well balanced. The air, the extension, it's there. It's very crisp. And like I said, there's no distortion characteristics that I hear with the active noise cancellation enabled. So very good job, Apple. Yeah, I really like the way these sound. These are probably either my favorite sounding truly wireless at the moment. It probably beat out my Momentums more in the clarity department, or it's probably tied with the Momentums, because I do like the Momentum's tonal balance. Sennheiser really knocked it out the park in terms of its overall sound signature, but the AirPods have the benefit of a very good active noise canceling, as well as the very clear sound signature that is still natural with a slight bit of warmth to it, so it doesn't sound too cold and analytical. Conclusion-wise, if this pretty much explains everything, I would choose the AirPods Pro over the Sonys. Now, the reason being is Yes, the AirPods cost more, but one factor is I use Apple devices. I also use Android devices, but AirPods integrate between my MacBook, my iPad, my iPhone, my Apple Watch, my Apple TV instantaneously through iCloud. So once I pair the AirPods Pro to my phone, it automatically paired to my Apple TV, my iPad, my Apple Watch, and my MacBook without me doing anything. So once the AirPods Pro is in the vicinity of any of those devices, I can easily just go to the Bluetooth connections and just select this and it'll automatically connect. That is literally magic. The next thing is, I do like to use the always on Hey Siri a lot. I also really like the pocketability of this. So you can see that this is a lot smaller and easier to carry around than the Sonys. And sound quality, I feel like it's better than the Sonys in terms of the no distortion characteristics. Beyond that, they both sound really good. Really, really good. I can easily go with either, but because the Sonys tend to distort, I have to give the edge to the AirPods. The next thing is that I really like about these is the call quality. Now, I can actually have phone calls with this when I'm outside, regardless of the environment, and I don't have to fiddle, take the earpieces out of my ears, and then go grab my phone to use that instead because no one can hear me. With the AirPods, people can hear me just fine. So overall, I would definitely choose the AirPods Pro over my previous favorite truly wireless earphones, which was the Sonys. So Apple, kudos to you. You really came back. Can't believe I'm actually recommending AirPods, but I have to give credit when credit is due. And these AirPods Pro, they're really good. Thanks for watching this review. If I have not covered something, please let me know in the comments below, and I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. Later.